Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gussets and Go Days podcast. I'm Christina and this is my podcast about my knitting, stitching and crafting. It's a lovely sunny day today, it's a Sunday. Got myself a lovely cup of tea and some projects to show you. I'm going to start with the not so baby projects because I know not everyone likes necessarily want to see some baby garments or accessories. So blankets is where I'm going to start. So this is my longest running whip at the moment, I think. It's the granny striped blanket by Attic24 and I've been doing it for ages. It's so close to being done. I'm using fingering weight yarn and 3mm clover hook, and it's got this lovely silicone-y handle which I really like. I think I started off knitting with kind of the old-fashioned ones where it's like an enamel coated metal, but they're quite heavy. This is lovely and light, so I'm really happy with that hook. And yeah, fingering weight. It's all scraps. It's coming along nicely. It was just not quite long enough. It's just so random, the colours. But like this was the first pair of socks that I ever knitted, and I think I knit the first sock completely too tight. Fiddled around with the next one to make it fit, and then I had enough yarn to do a third sock and I just unravelled this one and whacked it in. So that was an entire sock, that first duck egg. And it's really nice. It's got swaps and advent calendars, and I think that bit was a Nora George advent calendar, that bit was a Lay Family Yarn advent calendar. And there's just yarn from so many dyers and indie dyed and commercial. So I think when this is done, I might just cast on the same one again, the same thing. So I'm really happy with how it comes out and I enjoy the process. So win-win. I would say it's very heavy. I haven't weighed it, but it's very heavy. So as I said, I was nearly done. I was up to here and it was just not quite long enough. It's a sofa blanket. So it's enough so that, I mean, we have a 3-seater sofa. That is only big enough for me. I mean, you can't sit on a sofa straight. You have to like prop yourself nicely, get your legs up, stretch out, get your iPad, you know, gotta get the full just arena. So you need a little bit pooling at your feet and then enough to kind of scrunch up under your armpits, if you know what I mean. So needed a bit extra. All that to say, I ordered a mini skein. What was it called? A mini skein. It was like it was scraps. It was from Lay Family Yarn, and she did a kind of bag of scraps recently, and it was just some seconds, some leftovers, some I think experiments, all beautiful. So from here, from that orange, they're all Lay Family Yarn, and so is this magic ball. There's loads of colours in there. I think it was 350 grams. It was a really affordable price, which is why when I saw it I thought, oh, I was gonna scurry about looking for odds and ends, but scurrying at the moment in small little corners and cupboards, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. So I bought the bag. I held back a few So I just laid them all out, and I just happened to see these colours were all within a similar range and looked really cute together. So I set them aside, and I think they're different bases and things, and those two are the same colour, and I think those two are the same, those two are the same, just completely accidentally. They're just bits and bobs. So I was really happy with that. Those have been kept aside. Everything else went in the ball and is going in this blanket. Once this ball's done, I'm going to do some kind of border. Nothing frilly. I do like the simplicity of the edging, where there's just nothing. I think that does look nice, but I've been a little bit inconsistent with tension because crochet is not my it's not like my #1 craft that I do all the time, so it can get wider and narrower as I go, and a few times I've done it wrong on the edge, so you can slightly see it. So I thought, does it matter? I mean, I'm not pulling back to fix a blanket. No. That's not gonna happen. I thought just something, I don't know, can you do something similar to an I-cord, or I just want something that's not gonna roll. And I'll pull out, I guess, 100-gram skein of fingering weight. I'll just pick one from my stash and I'll go all the way around. I'll have a look on YouTube probably and have a look at what other people have done. But it's brilliant, and yeah, really loving it. This is for me. I finished a blanket for my baby, and then I was working on this one recently, and Jay said, you don't need another baby blanket, but Nina would really appreciate that blanket. Why does everyone else get to have a blanket? Jason's got a blanket. I just want my own blanket, okay? I'm not sharing it. Nina can sometimes sit on it. Sometimes. Anyway, there's a little while to go on that, but I've been doing that all week, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Oh, let me show you what I'm wearing. Now, this is a maternity skirt that I made, and I wanted to show it to you because it is very useful, but I'm not impressed with it. So, okay. Oh, move my chair out of the way. So, I'm gonna have to move this down. It's like a little pencil skirt with a ruffle on the bottom and gathered down the side, but the gathering is through the front and the back. Now, I made this specifically for workwear, for which it is fantastic. If you're someone who wears more narrow clothing in general, especially to work, it is a great skirt. It's called the Erin Skirt by Megan Nielsen. I'll put it on the screen. The sizing was shocking. So I usually wear, I think I wear usually a UK size 16, I think. It's difficult because I often don't look at the sizing of patterns, and I don't buy any clothes now. I tend to make them all. I go by the measurements. I think 16 is the correct size without the pregnant belly. Anyway, even the biggest size was too small for me. I had to add 6 inches to the skirt to make it fit me when I was not very pregnant. That is not good enough. That is not good enough. That is shocking. So I just whacked like loads on the side seams, and then wherever the centre seam was, I think I added a bit as well. Considering this skirt is a tube, okay, that it is slightly shaped, it's a tube which you sew together and then add elastic from the waist to the hip, which then gives the ruchy. So I did wear this skirt quite a little bit ago. I don't tend to wear it now because I don't really like so fitted. I'd rather something loose and like comfy. But if you are looking, or if you know someone who's looking for, there are so few like pregnancy patterns which I liked, and this one I really did like. I think that they could have done a better job. But I do wear the skirt. It's made of a Ponte Roma, it's stretchy. I chose something quite thick and matte, and I stitched it together on my overlocker instead of stitching it together by machine and then overlocking afterwards. I just thought that was easier, and that will have actually given me some extra room, as well as the extra that I added. I think this had a 5/8 of an inch or 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'll have only ever used like a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on my overlocker. So that will have given me a bit of extra space as well. So yeah, bit torn about the pattern. Also, the ruching does not need to exist in the back. I don't have anything in the back that needed extra ruching. So for a paid for pattern, I paid for the pattern as a PDF and then I paid to have it printed, I really could have just made myself a tube, slightly shaped tube, and just gathered it with some elastic after, and it would have had exactly the same result. There was nothing about the pattern I thought that made it really worthwhile. And it also comes very high. I feel that that's not massively... Let's pull that down a bit, otherwise you just look like floating boobies. Okay. roll it down. Anyway, Ponte Roma, great to sew with. Never sewn with that before, that was good. It cut really nicely, it's sewn on my overlocker really nicely. If I did any top stitching, like I top stitched some elastic here, I used the 3-stage zigzag, so not the zigzag that goes do, 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 but the one that goes do, 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 do. That's the technical terminology, you will understand. Anyway. So the floaty dress is way better. Although all the midwives, every time I turn up with a floaty dress, they're going, ooh, so you think it's summer outside? No, just I'm uncomfortable and hot. But anyway, yeah, moving on. Ooh, English paper piecing. Okay, this project, I loved making every single, what I would call rosette. So each individual, going round and round and round each flower, as you will. Loved it. Joining them together, really not fun. And actually that should not surprise me, because where I've done quilting in the past, although it's been by machine, I have also loved the kind of modular individual pieces. But the sashing, I don't know why it makes the difference. You're doing exactly the same thing, but you're stitching them together. I don't know why that makes it really laborious, but for some reason, it does. It does, frankly. So it's now really massive. And I was going to use it as a baby blanket for my baby. But yeah, it just grew out of control. I don't know what happened. I had no plan for this blanket. I bought some Liberty fat quarters for the middle. I bought some colours for the outside, some solids. I just went with it. And the project, it just grew out of control. It just got bigger and bigger. So it is 4x4, so that's 16 blocks. And my option was to either put them together like brickwork, where you've got your 2 and then 1 in the middle. So one would go in that space. Or put them in line with each other, which is what I chose to do. As so. The way that I've done it means you get these holes. So I need to fill them I think I've decided on doing the orange, the corally orangey colour. I've started putting these together for the edges. So those will fit in and seal these up, so I'll have a nice straight edge. So that's coming along nicely. I've had to buy, I think 3 times I've had to buy more of this corally colour. What's it called? It's called, is it persimmon? By Chula Pink Fabrics. Hibiscus. It is much pinker than it comes up on screen. It looks very orange on screen, but it definitely has a pinker tone. It's definitely a coral, but it doesn't matter. I'm still really liking it. I've taken out most of the papers and just left them around the edges. Anyway, it's a beautiful project, but I need to just... I just need this is now the slog. I need to slog along and do the sashing, joining part of it. And the filling. Turns out joining and filling empty spaces is actually quite hard. You don't have as much manoeuvrability as you do when you're working on the circular ones. I don't know what I want to say. I don't really have anything additional to say about it. I haven't decided on the backing, and I will probably machine quilt it myself. I mean, it would be lovely to hand quilt, and seeing as it's so massive, it's not like I could use this quilt in her cot anyway, because, you know, for suffocation purposes, you don't want to just drown someone in all of that quilt. But I thought it would be nice to take on picnics and indoor picnics on the floor, and just play, you know, when they start kind of tummy time, whatever. It's kind of nice to have a nice clean quilt kind of spread out, and they're easier to clean. And I do like to manhandle quilts. I think that, I know you put a lot of time and effort into them, and maybe some people are really precious about their quilts, but for me, I have no problem with people taking them outside, throwing them on the floor, getting them, using them, your pets sitting on them. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. I'd rather something that I made was used and loved, rather than just sat like pristinely in a cupboard or sat on a spare bed. I mean, I know it does look beautiful if you have a spare room to have like a beautiful quilt on, and guests, I'm sure, really appreciate it. But if that's the only thing it ever sees is, you know, the one occasional guest, that's a bit sad. You know, we want to have teddy bear picnics and fairy tea parties, obviously. Obviously. Oh, another quilt. So I showed this on my vlogs, I think. All I did was I bought some fabric for my sister. My sister is having a baby in June. I am having a baby on the 1st of April. Well, that's when it's booked for, so unless something happens in the meantime, that's when I have to go to hospital to have a cesarean for the baby, because she's upside down and is very uncooperative in her moving to the correct position. Cheeky madam. My sister lives in Australia now, so this needs to get there soon. All I did is quilting cotton, and I cut them both to the same size. I used a fusible wadding, and then did a grid stitch, and it looks really cool. I really like it. It's just a plain duck egg blue and then a fun geometric print. I maybe wouldn't have chosen necessarily for myself these fabrics, but she's like super modern, and she didn't know at the time whether she was having a boy or a girl, so I wanted something that was just really fun. This needs a binding and a quilt label. Quilt labels for me are my favourite part of a quilt. and I wanted to do her a really, really beautiful label. And there are some things you're meant to put traditionally on a quilt label. So for example, the name of the maker, the date, the location of where you made it, I don't know, country or town, much like a sampler. That's how I kind of see it, and I love that historical reference. But no matter what I designed and drew and kind of scribbled a few ideas, they all just looked not right. They just didn't look right. And I think the reason is, this is not a patchwork quilt. There is no real historic value in any workmanship that I've put in. I don't mean that to sound bad, but it's just a top stitched quilted piece of fabric. There's no, it's not patchwork, there's no applique, there's nothing there that I think that warrants the level of detail that I would want to put into a label. So instead, I'm going to put the baby's name. So I'd written some lovely quotes to put on it, but it looked too wordy, and it's quite a small quilt. I think it's 1 metre by 1 metre. And the idea of that is either just putting it on top of the, in the buggy, on the car seat, just to pull it around, and it folds up really small. So I just thought this would be something that's super handy. And again, like as a little rug, if she's at someone else's house, you pull it out and just, you know, pop it on the floor or whatever, and you can just wash it and wash it and wash it, and nothing will happen to it, and she doesn't need to be precious about it. So I designed, her name is going to be Mia Rose. So I've got the name there. I know, sorry, it's really difficult to see. And then on either corner, there's just going to be some roses using these wagon wheels, French knots, and some satin stitch for the leaves. So anyway, it's all drawn in there and ready to go. I've started with the Mia and done my satin stitch there. I'm just using a really pretty corally pink, and it's coming together really nicely. And I'll either put it in a full corner or kind of turn each end over and just do it as a so then the corner of the quilt would come out. I'll lay both options on to see what looks best, and this is just a kind of a scrap of a fat quarter, just a corner of it. It's a nice minty green. I don't have any kind of colour palette set out for that, for the flowers, so I've just got a couple of bits and pieces in here, and I'll just pull out. I'm just going to freestyle it. Quite a lot of my quilts, they do seem to accidentally get freestyled. I have a plan going into it, and then they just goes off course, just a smidgen. All right. I will now show you the baby things. So I'm just gonna have a little sip of my tea. Oh, I got this mug the other day. On Friday, today's Sunday. I had to go in on Friday to the hospital. I actually have not been ages to the hospital. Usually I pop in just to see my midwife. And because the baby's upside down, they gave me the option to have her turned with an ECV. Anyway, they turn her externally, and it should have been mild discomfort. Agonisingly, barbarically painful. What a hideous procedure. That doctor had to put all of his weight on my tummy and move her. Ooh. And they had to give me injections as well to try and make my insides not go, because they were definitely going. Anyway, I was waiting to have the procedure done, and I was scrolling on Instagram, and I saw So Sweet Violet had just uploaded a shop update, and this is one of her handmade beautiful mugs, and I thought, you know what, this is going to be an unpleasant procedure. Little did I know how unpleasant. going to get myself a treat. It just feels so lovely. I also had been watching is it called the Great British Pottery Throwdown, or just the Pottery Throwdown? Very similar to both the Bake Off and the Sewing Bee, but it's pottery based. And it's more enjoyable for me because I know a lot about sewing. So unfortunately, there is a part of me which is a little bit judgy when I'm watching the Sewing Bee. When the judges don't notice horrific mistakes, it annoys me, and they just pretend things are perfect when they're not. That really irritates me. Or when people make silly mistakes also really annoys me. I mean, well done to the contestants. I don't know how they do it in the time, but as someone who sews so often, they're just some niggly bits. And then the Bake Off. Okay, I can bake. It not always goes 100% to plan, but I can bake. But I can eat cake. Okay, I can eat cake. So when things go awry, and then the poor contestants have to make chocolate cakes and chocolate statues in heat waves, makes me mad. So the pottery one is much better because I know nothing about pottery, and therefore everything they make looks stunningly spectacular. But it's not a craft really that you can do at home with the kiln firing and whatnot. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, not only is it handmade by an artisan in collaboration with Jules from So Sweet Violet, it's beautiful and handmade, and you know, they only just had the final of the Pottery Throwdown. So works perfectly. Those colours of all those little, like springtime, summertime, like meadowy, almost kind of, you know, weedy flowers where they just magically pop up as if a fairy had just passed by. Mm. Some kind of lavendery chamomile tea in there. Oh, lovely. Oh, if you do like the mug, she's sold out, but she's ordered more, so keep an eye out on her Instagram page, because I'm sure when they come up, she'll pop up a little notification. Anyway, so that was my treat, and I was very glad that I bought my treat after such a horrible experience of those. It's just so rough. Anyway, so moving on. Oh, I thought we were done with the blankets. We're not done with the blankets, I lied. So sorry. Oh, I never know what to do with my advent calendars when I get some yarn. Just putting them into a blanket you're already doing seems a bit wasteful. So when I saw the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart, I thought, what a beautiful pattern. Because this whole blanket, I used only my advent calendar this year. It was the advent calendar from Beehive Yarns, and it was beautiful. It's actually not my colour palette whatsoever, but the reference picture that she published as for the kind of colour idea, so that when you buy it you kind of have a bit of a you know whether or not you're going to like it. They were all fairy tales and kind of myths and legends and just beautiful stories, and so I thought a baby quilt made of beautiful stories is kind of like sewing something out of hopes and dreams. And each one of them, like there's the pumpkin from Cinderella, there's a firebird in there, there's an enchantress colourway, there's Jack and the Beanstalk, there's just so many, Briar Rose, there's all of these references, and I knew most of the pictures. that she posted as her inspiration board. And I didn't know the names of the artists, but I recognised them from those stories and from, I don't know, through my childhood. So I just thought it was such a beautiful thing to make for a baby, even though they're not baby colours at all. Yeah, so fantastic. So you start on one corner and you get bigger and bigger and bigger until you've used half of your yarn, and then you go in the opposite direction. It's got this grown on I-cording, and I did block it, and then it needed blocking desperately because it was a little bit skew with. And that could also have been because I did just shove it into project bags and on the sofa, and, you know, as I was working on it, I wasn't gentle with it, which maybe I possibly could have been. But it did block nicely. All the edges have come out straight now. But it's beautiful. It's very easy. You start making one little corner, and I did have to do it a few times because you are working something that is I-cord and triangular, and then you're adding the lace. There was like a few things going on just at the very, very beginning, just to get that first little section, and then it's super easy. And I think the reason I struggled, firstly, I was back from work, I was a bit tired, but I was so excited to get it cast on. I kind of didn't really know what I was making. The description is stunning for the habitation throw, and it talks all about what your habitat is and what it means to habitate, and it was just a really lovely description of home and what home means, of where you live and roots, and I really just liked her prose that she put there. But there was no description of how you begin the blanket, what you're creating, which some patterns do. Some patterns will tell you, oh, this is a top-down construction, and then you're picking up stitches here or doing this. As far as I'm aware, there was nothing descriptive about the construction, probably because it's a blanket, and I guess they just assume everybody would know that. Like, it didn't even occur to me. I mean, I knew I was starting in a corner, but I hadn't even kind of registered the I-cord edging. So that was a little bit tricky, but I mean, I had to cast, I think, on 3 or 4 times, pull it back, do it again. So it maybe took me an hour and a half to like be good with it. And then I just picked it up every day. I, at first, was not using the whole skein of each colour. I was trying to work out a good amount of yarn based on her pictures, how much she had used. And then I realised it was just pointless to do that. So in the end, I just ended up using everything, which was a very good decision because I was so excited as I was knitting it. I forgot that I had to check where I was halfway. So the little bits that I held back on this end, I needed to, luckily that I had done that because I was just so in the project in the middle. I just kept going and going, and obviously it's widest at that middle point, and that actually takes up quite a lot of yarn from there all the way to the other side. So anyway, I would really recommend the pattern. I don't really have the floor space for blanket blocking, nor do I have blocking wires, but I made it work with a towel, with 2 towels on the floor. My JC was not very impressed that he had to jump over the like magic blanket. It's not what he calls it, I call it the magic blanket. And it also for me has those connotations to Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is a lovely story and fantastic if you ever see it at the theatre. Really cool, and that coat is amazing. And he has like this like rainbow jacket coat, like really cool. And the song by Dolly Parton, A Coat of Many Colours. Oh, what a beautiful song. So it also reminds me of that, and how her mum in the song sews together all these scraps that a neighbour gives them because they don't have any money, and she sews them all together to make her coat because the little girl's cold and it's already, you know, well into autumn, and everyone makes fun of the little girl because she is poor, and that's really sad, but she absolutely loves the coat and she doesn't understand why people don't like it because her mum made it out of love. And oh, such a beautiful song. So I just thought it's so nice. So there's lots of like loveliness in that project, which I really, really love. And it's nice when a project has a meaning rather than just, you know, if you're gifting something to someone, like with a baby. I mean, I know it's my baby, but I'm going to gift it to her. I'm not going to wrap it, but it's a present for her. So bonnets. So I think bonnets, very underrated. Probably not in the knitting and crocheting community, but for children's wear, bonnets are very lovely. And I just happen to have some DK weight scraps in my stash that I'd used before. I'll put on the screen what they were if I can find the label. I had this mustard, and someone recommended a pattern to me, and it looked a little bit on the complicated side, so I thought let's start off with a little bit of an easier make of a bonnet, and then I'll do the other one after. So I found this pattern on YouTube, and a lady makes it along with you, so you just follow along. I've only ever done that with crochet, specifically with doilies. I think it's really fun, and I don't really know the terminology, to be honest, for crochet. It really confuses me that there is a British and an American version. That just blows my mind. I'm not clever enough for there to be multiple, especially because you use the same terminology but it means something different. Wow. Anyway, so with bonnets, and all the bonnets that I've looked at, you cast on this edge here, and then you work the ribbing until you get to kind of this part of the head, and then you do some kind of decreasing very fun construction. This is garter, very easy to do, very easy to do. What can I say about it? I did it in an evening because it's DK. This is the 6-month size. The only problem that I had with this, and following along with the tutorial, I'll put the link for it down in the description box in case you wanted to also make one. She doesn't have, you can't print off a pattern or look at a written pattern. She just speaks. There's no like work materials. Usually when people do tutorials, there's like a little link that would maybe take you to their blog or something, and you can print off the information. That wasn't there. It was literally just the video of her talking and her telling you what to do. There's no gauge. There was no gauge. So I had no idea what the sizing was like. The only reason I knew that it was the right size was at one point she mentioned how many rows she'd done and how tall that was. So mine measured the same. That, I mean, this will fit whatever size baby it fits. I will try it on when the baby is a little, and then when it was bigger I would try it on again if it did not fit when it was little. But oh, very cute, very cute. I like the kind of square back as well. I had run out of this yarn, so I pulled out of my stash, same yarn, different colour, and that works well. And then I just did a little decorative running stitch, which isn't in the pattern, just to put along the edge. Well, this one also has, you have to pick up stitches to do that bottom edging, and you can pick up less stitches if you want to kind of just to get it in nicely into the back of the neck. I haven't tried it on a baby because I do not yet have a baby. I did try it on my dolly. It was cute. And oh, can I just say, I-cord. I have never made an individual I-cord. so fun. So fun. Now, if I had a small child, like when I was a small child, I loved the little knitting doll. I called her a French doll. I don't know if it is actually French, but it's a little wooden painted to look like a doll, a little wooden tube, and it has 4 nails in the top, and you wrap the yarn and then you go over with one knitting needle, or I think I even used a toothpick when I once lost the knitting needle. And out of the bottom comes like an I-cord type thing. I haven't done it in that since I was a child, so maybe it is I-cord. I just don't know. Anyway, I didn't use the knitting doll. But how good. You could have children making your I-cords and just make things that need I-cords, and then the child can... It's brilliant. I hope my daughter likes to do crafty things. I desperately wanted to do so many crafty things, and I was very limited having just my dad and not having my mum, because my dad wasn't super crafty, so I was limited with my access to crafts. Oh, well, if she likes crafts, she's in for a treat. If she doesn't, she's in big trouble. But anyway, I-cording is a lot of fun. I use DPNs, and you just get such a nice, round, perfect result, and you weave in the ends so nicely. I was very impressed. Anyway, to go with this, bonnet. I also made some etive bloomers. I'd made these first and I made the bonnet afterwards, by Rainer and Bear, and I've made this pattern quite a few times. I made 3 of them for my boss 3 years ago, when she had her second child, and this pattern is a really good next step pattern. So if all you know how to do is knit and purl, this is a great pattern, because there's a few techniques, but it's a really small item. So you learn how to do a provisional cast on in the kind of gusset crotch area. You learn how to knit forward and backwards up until this point, then you're in the round. You learn short rows in the back. You can see it's I don't know, maybe an inch taller in the back. You learn how to pick up stitches for the leg holes. So there's quite a few new techniques, and the brand, if you look on their Instagram page, they've done videos in their highlights, so you can watch and knit along, which is what I did. I could have done it without, but no, I just watched the videos anyway. They were so nice of her just showing you what she was doing. I thought, well, each stage, when I get to a new stage, I'll watch the video and do it along with her. That was fun. So really cute, and it's got buttons on the back and these little braces. Very cute. Anyway, I think the best thing about making children's clothes, maybe not many people would like knitted bloomers and knitted bonnets, which is why I haven't made any for my sister. I just don't think that she'd want that kind of a garment. She'd want something much more modern. But these are things I want to make. I want to make these lovely old-fashioned, you know, really sweet, lovely little things. Anyway, when you make things for children, they do not see the mistakes. So if you're learning something new and you're going to wear it yourself, I sometimes feel that adults would be self-conscious that the thing that they've made is maybe like a little bit lumpy, or the quality isn't 100% there, which is a shame. I don't think there's anything wrong with wearing something handmade that has imperfections. It's part of it, but adults can sometimes be perfectionists, and they want the things they wear to look store-bought even though they're handmade, which is a really bizarre concept anyway. But kids genuinely could not care less. So if you make things, just when you're learning a new craft, if you make them for children and it's something that they would like, they're so grateful. I find children, not babies, but children are really grateful. You've learned a new skill, you've had the practice, then when you go to make something for yourself, you've got that practice under your belt and you'll make a better object for yourself. Anyway, that's what I think. I think that making children's and making babies' clothes is a lot of fun. It takes up much less yarn, And if you do it in DK, these are both DK, it's really quick. Sorry, I don't know what yarny fuzz is in the room. But there's definitely some yarny fuzz. Yeah, so anyway, I thought with some little woolly tights in the autumn and like a little cardigan, that would be adorable. So lovely jubbly. Oh, these two I thought I would show, even though I've shown them. Oh, sorry. Oh, even though I've shown them on the vlog, I just wanted to show them on the podcast because they're done and here and ready to go. So I borrowed some patterns from a friend, and this one, Design 7153, it's a 50s pattern, sorry, for either of those two. Really sweet. And I made the smallest size was the 6-month size, so I've just, with some quilt and cotton, run up a cute little top, so easy to make, and some little bloomers. I will have said in the vlog that I was unsure of this quite large leg hole, and lots of people got back to me, and of course it's a 50s pattern. In the 50s they did not have disposable nappies in the same way that we do now. They had the reusable flannelly monstrosities that were very large, and so where the pattern says you should line it with something waterproof, of course, because flannel will leak in a way that babies' nappies now don't tend to. I know you can have nappy explosions and things now, but yeah, babies, everything's changed, and sanitary wear for children is very different. So I may need to put elastic in the leg hole, and I'm happy to do that later on. I would probably just measure it, pin it in, and then use a zigzag stitch to just kind of top stitch it onto the inside. I don't know if I would bother unpicking and opening a channel, probably not. But if it needs it, fine. If not, little white woolly tights under that, very cute with this on top. Very adorable. And then I made it in the opposite colourway as well. So they're kind of a mix and match set. You can wear them, any of them together, but really adorable. And I do have quite a few vintage buttons, but I only have a few of them, so this was a good excuse to use those, because any objects that I make for myself, if it's a garment, it tends to need a lot of buttons, and with vintage ones you tend to only have, well, I've got quite a few that have got 4 or 6, so these were really, really fun to make. Children's clothing in general, if I go to the shops to have a look at, I mean I can't now, I've had to buy everything online if I want to buy anything for this baby, but in the high street shops are very cheap, a few pounds for things. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised that children's wear is so cheap. It's much more expensive to make your own. Like if I look at the cost of how much these fat quarters of cotton would have cost to make this garment, and then my time as well, it would be wildly more expensive. But you cannot beat handmade, so a few little handmade things that won't go amiss. So got a little pile. They're all 6 months, all of those so far. Another thing I will have shown you on the vlog is this little ballet cardigan. I could not resist making it. Also made it in the 6-month size. It's by Debbie Bliss, and it's using the Debbie Bliss yarn. It's the same as that little baby's wearing. Very, very adorable. Again, I borrowed the book from a friend, and I'll probably copy a few little bits down, and then I'll return them soon. Okay, there we go. It's called the Simple Crossover Top, and I made it in the 3 to 6 month size, but my tension was bigger for sure. So there we go. It was really fun to make, I really enjoyed it. It's a really sweet little project to do. I would absolutely wear a little pink ballet cardigan myself. And this is much more baby traditional colours. I just happen to have it in stash. I did need to buy some extra yarn because I didn't have quite enough. When I blocked these garter ties, they have really grown. It's really cute. I reserve the right to cut these ties off and put a button here and one inside with a little crocheted loop or something. I don't know how practical it is to tie up small children with ties. I'm just saying, I don't know. It may be very practical. On the one hand, it makes this an adjustable garment because you can tie it really tightly, or if they get bigger, you just like... But I think babies tend to grow longer rather than fat, like... I don't know. Let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see. I don't mind going back in on projects and adjusting them. Doesn't bother me at all, so that's really nice. The yarn does have beautiful stitch definition. It's soft, it's lovely. The colours are really pretty, very pastel-y range, really nice. They're not super cheap though, but then it's in a cashmere merino, so they are machine washable. I have not yet washed it, so I can't describe its washability. Oh, this might be my favourite thing I've made. I was tempted to send it to my sister when I'd finished it, but I love it so much. I just know how much she would love it. That makes me so... I don't want to give it away. This pattern is on the screen. It is a top-down construction. It is adorable. It is lovely to make. The actual pattern is plain with a little embroidered like teddy bear face. Oh, so cute. I just wanted a plain pattern that had multiple sizes that I could reuse the pattern as time goes on and make the same jumper in different yarn and different sizes as she gets bigger. So it would be a really useful pattern. And it was very easy to make. It was very lovely, very easy to follow. It's not meant to be striped. I did that myself. I wanted a kind of fade, which I've seemed to have gotten really well between the yellow and the green. And then some of the colours you can see don't fade so well. So the green to the purple doesn't fade so well, and nor does the blue. But I still think it looks beautiful. It's just that that fades so just spot on. Right, very lovely. This is the... I think I made the smallest size, and it's... I think it was for 6... I don't remember. I did lay it out on top of some of the other garments that I have bought, and it did correlate to what the bought garment said was 6 months size. So we're hoping that it's going to fit at that time. It's got a nice stretchy neckline, and yeah, it's really pretty. The yarn is all by elderflower stitches. Elderflower stitches. Oh, I'm having a blank. Is that correct? It will be on the screen. Susie. Oh, she's so lovely, and she makes so many pastel colours, and it's so beautiful. I bought minis. It was 20-gram minis of each of those 4 colours. Then I ran out of yarn. It was fingering weight, but I held it double, which was a faff. Never mind. And then I did buy 1 full skein of that blue. So I think it was Pastel Pride yellow, Pastel Pride green, Pastel Pride purple, and Pastel Pride pink, I think. And then this one was from her latest, I think, Blue Skies collection. And it goes really well. So anyway, I made this, I started making it before I knew the sex of the baby, so I thought whether it was a boy or girl, I'd be happy to put my baby in that. Oh, my sister would love it so much, but I don't want to send it away. I know you're meant to think about the season that the baby will be at the age, but my house is cold. Very cold. Old houses are cold. I could very happily sit with a hot water bottle any time of the year. There's probably 2 or 3 weeks in the high summer when I wouldn't do that. But in general, I'm always wearing woolly socks and have on a cardigan or a jumper, so I think they're going to be useful anyway. This would fit in the autumn if the sizing is correct. Oh, maybe I should get some more yarn and knit it for my sister. The thing is, because she lives so far away, at the moment, I sent her a package 2 months ago, it still hasn't arrived, and anything she sends me gets here really quite quickly. She said it's because we don't have as many aircraft going out of the country because of COVID. I don't know, I've not actually looked into it. I don't know if she just guessed that or if she knew that for some reason. Anyway, absolutely beautiful project. And I think even people that don't like I think some people think knitting and crochet is like a little bit like fuddy-duddy and old-fashioned. I think anyone would be happy to get this for their child as a present because it's so modern and it's just a basic, simple DK weight, little jumper. You can stripe it, not stripe it, have it in solids. Perfect. So that's a really nice little project. Seeing as everything was for 6-month size, I thought let's make one thing newborn at least. So I made a little collection. My dad got me these minis for Christmas. So they are by, okay, I think it's Villains pour Loup London. Oh, it's French. Ooh. Oh yes, hand dyed in France. This colour is Being Emerald Crowned Cleopatra. Anyway, they got fun names and they're just little 20-gram minis. And I said to him, I just sent my dad the link and said, I'll get me some like pick and mix. He got me 4 of the red. I thought that was bizarre. Then he's got me 2 of all the other colours. Well, I'm not quite sure what he thought I was going to do with them. I thought he would buy me 1 of lots of different colours. Anyway, they're very lovely, very sweet. So, oh, it's coming up super, I knew it would come up super red. It's actually a dark burgundy. That is the correct colour. But as soon as I put it close to the screen, it blows out. So this adorable little bonnet, put the pattern on the screen, was a pleasure. This is the one that someone recommended to me, and if a mum is going to recommend to me the pattern that they used and that they loved using for their baby, I'm going to make it, obviously. All 4-ply, and it took so little yarn. Again, started on cast on edge, kind of on the face area, with some ribbing. Then you go into the beautiful pattern, really beautiful. And then you've got this lovely decreases in a spiral, beautiful texture, and then you pick up to create a channel. The other one didn't have a channel. This has a channel with I-cord threaded through. Brilliant. And this I-cord is very fine. What a pleasure. So yeah, 1st of April, might be a bit chilly. Tiny baby might like to come home in a bonnet. In a red bonnet. Why not? This is not a baby colour at all. It doesn't bother me. Really, oh, the colour, I'll have put the colour of the yarn already. So to go with the tiny bonnet. Oh. Every time I say bonnet, I want to sing the Easter bonnet with all the frills upon it from the Easter parade with Judy Garland. Okay. These are the cutest thing in existence. You cannot get cuter things than newborn baby socks. You also cannot get anything more irritating and fiddly to make than a baby sock. So, so lovely. The pattern is beautiful. Very, very easy to do. It's just, I do not have hands for little finicky details, in all honesty. So I wish that I could make a baby whole drawer of socks. But sweetheart, it's not going to happen. Anyway, she can come home in beautiful socks. They're really lovely, really, really, really lovely. I'm really happy with them. I didn't do the cabley ones because I'd already was losing my mind with the rib. Cables would have just set me over the edge. Okay, then I made mittens. I was thinking, you know, as scratch mittens, because babies scratch themselves. They are possibly a little too heavy for that. So again, they may only get used on the way back from the hospital, but never mind. The pattern was a free pattern on Ravelry. Really sweet little pattern. Only thing is, it's meant to be more kind of gathered at the top and slightly kind of bulbous in that way. And I just adjusted the pattern to have this flat edge because I wanted them much flatter, and I don't know if that was a good thing to do or not. I just prefer the way that they look. That squirrel. Not only do we have a squirrel, we have squirrel babies. Ignore it, ignore it. Yeah, so how much yarn did I have total? I had 3 20-gram minis. So out of that, I got a bonnet, a pair of socks, a pair of mitts, and the newborn vertebrae, which was a free pattern. Very adorable. If this fits the baby, I will be very happy. It just looks so teensy. I mean, it's so tiny. Really nice to knit. Really easy, raglan construction. And then you pick up the rib at the end. I think what I did, because this is the last thing I made for this collection, I was a little bit worried I would run out of yarn. So I knitted until the armholes. I knit the sleeves, and then what did I do? I knit it shorter than I needed it, whilst weighing how much I had to make sure that I had just enough to do an edging. It is a narrower edge than the pattern has you do, but I don't think that matters. And with the description of this pattern, it says that the reason that it's really very good is because all of that front section, which babies can dribble or spit up and things like that, there is no yarn there, so you don't need to wash it as often. It's kind of, from the description, that seemed to be what it was saying. It uses really little yarn, and then the fact that there's nothing there on the front is positive. I'll take your word for it. I have no idea about that. Yeah, but the babies on the pictures from Ravelry did look very adorable. And I've got a little like grey, I've got the same one in grey, white or pink, so I'll pick one of them. They're just like little baby grow kind of tops and then leggings. So I'll just lay these next to and see. Red and pink go quite nicely, but then grey, maybe the grey, I don't know. Anyway, I will probably bring this to the hospital, and she may or may not wear it home. I don't know. But that's the thing, aren't you meant to do that with babies? You're meant to have like a special outfit that you bring them home in. Yeah. Well, I did it anyway. I just thought it was cute. I was just excited. So I think, is that everything? Let me just... Don't want to miss anything. is everything. That will have been another long podcast. I have not made a huge amount of baby things for myself, for my baby, just because it takes so much time, and I know that they don't have it for very long, but I think making handmade things is very nice and is very, very appreciated, usually by the mother, if you're going to gift. I am the mother. But I still appreciated my own hard work. The baby will not appreciate it until later on, when then she maybe sees the pictures, and then she'll say, oh, what lovely things I had. Yes, you did, because I made them all for you. So she is coming on the 1st of April. That is very few days away, unless she comes before that. I'm very glad she's coming soon, because I am most uncomfortable being very large. It is not easy to have a big belly. Turns out, not easy. So, I'm hoping to get in one more podcast before, and so I can show you the whips that I have got going on. I've got quite a few whips. I am a self-confessed monogamous maker. I make one thing at a time. That's very important to me, because if I'm particularly with knitting, it needs my full attention. But with lockdown, I somehow suddenly became someone who likes to start and put down and move on to something else. Something about my making just changed. So I do have a little cross stitch here, a little crochet there, a little knitting here, a sock, this and that. In fact, I don't know how many I've got. I tried writing a list and I got a little bit overwhelmed. I think it might be quite nice just to pull out what I've got and have a look at them, and maybe just see, are they worth finishing? Do I not want to finish them? I can't imagine not finishing anything, actually. If I start it, it's because I want to do it. And even if I don't enjoy the process, I want the finished result. So I will battle through, in general. But it would be nice to just have a little gander. Anyway, in the meantime, have a lovely week, have a lovely day. It's been nice to see you. And stay safe, stay home if you can. And I'll be back soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.